Hello and welcome back to the BiFi Cafe podcast. I am your host, Autumn Lee Ryans, with my beautiful co-host, Michael Bay. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't wait to graduate college. Looking at new places to go, honestly.
Yas, bitch, fuck it up, college.
Yeah, no, I'm dying to get out.
And you telling me to go to a 4-year, look at you. I can't.
Only because you meet some lit people at a 4-year.
Right. I mean, we already talked about that, but... So, college is taking the life out of you. I am about to fucking...
Surprisingly, not lately.
I'm weak. I am about to go to work for 7 days straight. Again. Woo, this is fun. Woo. It's,
He's going to be cutting his wrist on the 4th day.
You know? But, other than work, I haven't really been doing much of anything outside of, just earning money and setting it on fire. That's not why we're here.
You don't go to the gym anymore?
I do. Yeah, I do. But the gym only does so much. Physically. But it's fun. It's, gym is good. I'm getting good about my health. I kind of go back and forth between phases of, junking and then doing semi-healthy things. So, staying hydrated, but also managing to have 3 bowls of cereal between 12 p.m. and 8 a.m.
That's the realest thing I've heard.
Yes.
I've never strategically heard somebody plan 3 bowls of cereal.
Look, you have to have your midnight snack, then you have to have your early breakfast, then you have to have your second breakfast. And cereal is part of a complete breakfast and balanced breakfast, by the way. So, if you have cereal, that means you don't have to drink a glass of milk, which saves you another drink, which can be orange juice and or apple juice and or soda, depending on how healthy you are. You grab a bottled water with you to work, grab a yogurt, throw a straw in that bitch, you're set.
When you said all of that, you had made me remember elementary school when they would show you that fucking nutrition triangle.
Right.
You sounded like every woman ever that preached that.
Don't fuck with me. I got granola bars in my bag at the ready. I'm so fucking prepared. It's not funny. I feel like this healthy snacking, there's a difference between eating healthy and then snacking healthy. I would like to snack healthy. I don't give so much about eating healthy. Because I snack more than I eat anyways. To kind of... Because I eat a lot. And if I don't eat a lot, I snack a lot. And if I fucking snack a lot, I might as well snack healthy,
It makes sense.
Of course. It does. Okay. So, Michael, you want to know what I have been wasting my life on, which is great, and which I want to tell you so much about, but I also want you to kind of watch for yourself.
It's that show.
It's a show.
Rick and Morty.
Fucking Christ. Yo, don't even get me started on Rick and Morty. My coworker and I had actually a nice conversation about Rick and Morty. Hold on. Pause the phone. Did this bitch have a baby?
Which one?
Fucking... Oh, no. It's not her. Yo, my heart just skipped a beat, son. I thought, what's her name? The Cash Me Outside girl? I thought she had a baby.
No, not to my knowledge.
No, I thought she had a baby. It wasn't. It was some other girl. I think. I hope. Jesus.
If she did have a baby, that'd be interesting.
Right. But anyways, So I've been watching a show called Grace and Frankie, and it's been interesting, honestly, because at first I didn't really want to watch it because I thought it was sitcom-y, but then I saw the first episode, fell in love, binged through all 3 seasons. They're on Netflix, and there was a multiple of topics that were in it that I thought were like fucking crazy. Like crazy because I didn't think of them. So if I didn't think of them, and they're not cliches already, then it was just like, whoa. It was so great. It was like my mind being fucking blown. Just, and it was done really well. And I want to talk about it for fucking hours. But one of the main things that happens in the series is that there are there are 4 main characters, honestly. Well, it's a whole bunch of family, but there are 2 men, and they are married to women. Now, these 2 men are partners with each other. They are divorce lawyers. They own their own law firm and everything, and they've been working with each other for decades. Now, a few decades into their relationship, before the series takes place, they figure out they are gay, and then they carry out a romantic relationship with each other. And as it's explained in the series, they try to call it off, and every time was the last time before they just gave in and started sneaking around. And then before you knew it, 20 years passed by, and they're trying to come out to their wives and all this shit. And it's crazy because they do come out, and everybody's whole world is flipped the fuck upside down, and it's crazy, and it's weird. But one of the things that happens is that both men invite their children over, and they're having dinner, and they're all eating cake and shit. And then this conversation comes up about how, both men, and they invite their kids over, and then the topic comes up about how it would be crazy that for them to be celebrating the 2 of them being together and wanting to get married and all this extra stuff, because if they were cheating with women, the whole situation would be a garbage fire, and there's this idea of like, I can't be mad at you because you're gay. That really stood out to me, and that really like caught me avant-garde, and was just like, wow, this is something that feels pretty common, or like must feel pretty common, the deeper, the older you get generation wise, because there are people coming out every day, and you have to think, like, how long was it before they knew? Like, people who figure it out earlier in their lives, they go in, going into their life, growing up and learning about themselves and what they're comfortable with and all this other stuff. But for some people who have been living their lives for years, for decades, who go on thinking one thing, but then come towards a later point in their life, they realize it's something completely different, utterly like foundation shaking, honestly. And it's that idea of like, I can't be mad at you because you're gay, that really kind of like enraged me, because it's like, no, you should be mad. You should be mad, especially if they knew and they continue to play you like a fool. You should be mad if they were engaging with somebody else behind your back. And there's no, like, yes, the world's still a fucked up, scary place, and nobody can. I can't say that everybody could come out, tomorrow and expect to be okay. But there's a certain what's the fucking word? Like a sense of loyalty to a person if you're with them and you learn something about yourself, and you have to be honest about it, in my opinion, because if you're not, then you're kind of building a relationship on a bunch of lies, I would say. If you can understand where I'm going with this.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. From everything that you've been saying, I see it, and well, I haven't seen it in that show because obviously I've never watched it since I let you explain the whole thing.
Right, but just like the
But I
general
do
sense
see
of
it in real life, yeah.
yeah.
Like, and I don't want to throw people in my college under the bus, but basically there was this girl, there was this straight heterosexual couple. So the guy was a down low. For those that don't know, I mean, a closeted gay man. He cheated on her with another man, and the dude, I want to say his mistress, but the mistress is a mister. So
Yeah, his
that
mister.
nigga was like, yeah, his mister was like, oh, it's okay. We're gay. That's what we do. And me just walking by, like, so many things came to my head. I'm like, why is it that in the gay community, like, cheating is almost idolized? Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's a huge problem with promiscuity in the gay community. But at the same time, if you're in a relationship, which sort of goes back to what we were talking about a couple of podcasts earlier, as you were saying, you owe that person loyalty, commitment, truth, and trust.
And there's the thought of like, even if you can't come out to your significant other, why would you still stay with them? Why would you put them through that in terms of like, you don't necessarily have an attraction towards them. You may love them. That may still be a thing. Because, there are people that you can love without having to physically be in a relationship with them. But, just why the hell not?
I mean, I see it as multiple things. I'm not trying to justify it.
Mm-hmm.
But
why I should say why stay, because it's more of like a why stay and be that asshole than just being like, look, we're just not working out,
True. I guess the biggest thing is, well, I don't guess I know. The biggest thing is just coming out in general, because when you're in the closet,
right,
you have this image to maintain. So all your quote-unquote friends, your family, they love this image that you're presenting. So you have to shatter the image and say, look, this is who I am, which isn't going to be far from who you actually are, honestly.
And I'm all for coming out. I heard that. I'm all for coming out, and I'm all for like, staying in the closet if the environment you're living in isn't a safe one that you can confidently come out in it and be okay. But I like the idea of holding someone accountable if they're obviously being unreasonable about it. I cheated. And I cheated because of just my own personal reasons. Maybe it had to do with, the polyamory thing, or maybe it was just I didn't like the person that I was dating. Could be either of those. Like I could have approached the situation differently. I could have done a lot of things differently. Granted, I was like 17. Not saying that makes it any more okay, but there's only so much you can expect a kid to process, and without the knowledge, without a lot of sexual knowledge being available in your younger years, it makes it harder for certain people to reach their own conclusions about who they are and what they are,
Right. In terms of you cheating on the person you were with, it happens. Everyone has their own reasons. But what I was alluding to is if you are in a closet and you cheat with somebody who is of the same sex, then the pill is 1,000 times harder to swallow for the person you're with. Because I know if you're dating somebody, right, obviously, they trust you enough to be with them and keep it 100 with them no matter what.
Right.
So when you cheat, obviously, they're not going to trust you, and it'll fuck with their insecurities. The girl or the boy you were with, they're going to be like, was I good enough? Was I doing something wrong? Did I not physically attract them anymore? Like it's going to be stuff like that at first.
I'll tell you,
But when they realize that it's on, I just wanted to finish this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Once they realize it's a member of the same sex, then that's when it really hits them. And they're going to be like, well, why the fuck were you dating me? 2, depending on how deep in a relationship you are, they're going to be like, I love you, but there's no way I can compete with the person you cheated on me for because they're the biological sex as you.
And that's the thing. I feel like if you were attracted to the opposite gender than the one that you were dating, at that point it shouldn't be a competition. It should just be like a level of respect. I can understand wanting to the pain that would be felt when the initial coming out happens. But there's I love the fact that we are growing up in an evolving culture in which we can come out and where we can be ourselves, obviously. Jesus fucking Christ. But I don't feel that it's right for anyone to use their sexuality as a cop-out for the shitty things that they do. Because that's fucking dumb. It's just like you're creating a special set of rules for you to abide by that make no fucking sense. Just because you're attracted to a different gender, You
just said a lot, but when you were talking, you ultimately reminded me of, well, this is a huge thing with West Indian parents or Caribbean parents in general. I know for a lot of them who are tolerant, they'll say, okay, I'm fine with who you are, but just don't be a femme. Or if you're a lesbian in this case, they may say, I'm okay with who you are, just don't be an AG. Because for some reason, I get it, but I don't get it. To them, a man being a femme or a woman being an AG is like, oh my God, they crossed the line. That's unacceptable. Oh, you're not familiar with the term?
No.
An AG is an aggressor, so they're the ones who typically dress up like boys, act like boys, like they're the more masculine ones.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I can see why that would be something. Why that would be a thing. Um, and that's something that also I feel is very I would say, what's the fucking word? I want to say pungent, but I feel like that's pungent works, but it's not the word that I want to use. But what's pungent in the gay community is that kind of gay, you know, being a specific kind of gay, or excluding yourself from, you know, the, I would say, the gay sort of scene, because you're not that kind of gay. Because when you think, I wanna go by Hollywood standard of gay. Hollywood standard of gay is you talk femininely, you wave your hands when you talk, you you dress in bright colors and shit, and you act like a woman, basically. You know? And by going by Hollywood standards, some gay men will be seen doing drag, putting on shows, dancing in plays, or singing, or any of that. And it's, you kind of like build a definitive line of how gay you are. Like, oh, I'm gay, but I'm not this gay. Or like, I'm gay, but, you know, I wouldn't do drag, or I wouldn't drink fruity alcohol beverages, like shit like that. And it's crazy how there's a certain like dislike for a culture set bent on freedom of expression, you know. Because there's a whole thing with just what's it called, like just being who you are, and in terms of doing what you like and what others like. So if others like dressing like women and acting like complete bitches, or, you know, whatever your drag personality is, it's not okay for someone else to just be like, oh, I'm gay, but I'm not, you know, Tyler's kind of gay, because Tyler does drag on Wednesday nights, or some gay shit like that, you know? And I do things too that kind of like are just like, well, I don't personally take offense to them, but somebody else might take offense to them. Like, I use gay as dumb, which I shouldn't, and which I don't in public. However, you know, amongst my friends, I do it. And amongst my friends, I may call one of them a faggot. They may call me, you know, they might tell me to go suck a cock or eat a dick or something like that. And within my friend group, that's perfectly fine, because that's the kind of threshold that my friends and I have developed to, or well, the threshold of tolerance that specifically me and my set of friends have set, that we're comfortable with. You know, I don't get offended, and they don't feel a kind of way. But if it were taken out of context, if it were to happen in public, and if they were to slip or something, you know, if they were to say, you know, faggot in a way that were derogatory or offensive, you know, should I hold them accountable, or am I not allowed to do that because I do it too? You know, there are double standards everywhere, but I still don't feel like we shouldn't hold each other accountable for the shittier things that we do.
Well, just to respond to what you said, no matter what word you use, whether it's the word nigga or the word faggot, it all depends on the intention behind the word. If you know you're just joking around, then that word literally means nothing. But if you're using it to hurt somebody, then yeah, it's gonna be like a giant what the fuck and why are you doing that, you know? Like saying a word like fag, like nigger is just not okay. If you're going to humiliate somebody, degrade somebody, or verbally abuse somebody.
Right.
But we have a relationship where we know where each other is joking. I even make new friends, and sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, you're such a bitch.
Right.
They know that I'm not using it to degrade them. They're in on a joke. It could be people that I meet literally within a day. They can tell whether you're joking or not. So it's more of the intent behind the word. And as far as stereotyping gay people, like, oh, just because this person's a femme, all gays must be a femme. Here's the thing about being gay. For some reason, I don't know why, but being gay or being bisexual sort of has this connotation where our relationships are supposed to mirror same sex relationships. So you would have one who's overly masculine, another who's overly feminine, and you can obviously tell they're meant for each other, right?
I follow.
However, in reality, that's not the way everybody is. There are tons of men out there who are feminine men. You have tons of men out there who are masculine men. You have tons of men out there like me who fluctuate between the two. It's not primarily that all men have to be this way. Like, oh my God, I saw a femme on TV, so all you gays are just running around screaming yas and clapping your hands and sipping tea. It's more of like that's the only thing that's really shown, you know? Like when you hear about 9 times out of 10, when I ask my friends what do they think of when they see a gay person, they tell me right off the bat they think of somebody who's over the top flamboyant. And I'm not going to blame them and be like, oh, well, that's fucked up because we come in different shapes and forms. But if you look at the shit that's around them, not to sound like a parent and be like, oh my God, social media, but it's like I've watched my fair share of shows where the one gay character is just a femme. Did I feel a type of way? Absolutely. But that's a whole nother can of worms within itself, you know? Like, I feel like if we address the issue that gays are being demonized and you have gay people out there saying, oh, well, I'm not that gay, I'm this type of gay, then it sort of opens the discussion to why do we characterize ourselves when we're human beings? Why are we degrading the femmes? Because honestly, if you're a feminine man and you go around wearing makeup and you wear the clothes that you enjoy, that takes courage. So to constantly have somebody in your face calling you a faggot and have people in your own community bash you, that's extremely fucked up. Because you can't get support from outside and you can barely get support within from inside, which is the one thing I don't like about the gay community because a lot of people say, hey, we're gay, we should be united, but then you have some who are like, well, you're a femme, so I don't really want to fuck with you.
Right. And I
It's
feel
deep,
like
it's complicated.
there's also that stigma of like the gay best friend or the I would say the what is it? There's the other stereotype, the fuck if I forgot it, but you know, there's a
Which
bunch of
stereotype is it?
I can't fucking remember, but I'm not gonna go into before we get too off topic. But I think that, you know, just because you may not like a certain culture, despite being a part of it, you shouldn't shit on it. It's pretty fucked up if you want to identify as a part of a community, but then also like talk the illest shit about that community, which speaking of which, we kind of do. Like we do as a show, like as this podcast, like we plaster it fucking everywhere that we're bisexual, and on it we talk about the shittier things that happens in the LGBTQ community and in the world in general. But we like to think we offer a unique perspective, a different opinion on these topics because of the shit that we just experience in our day-to-day lives, the inequality, the ups, the downs, the parades, the events, the killings, the drama. So it's like the keys of making a great character. It's one thing to have a character who's kind of cynical, like kind of above it all, like who is very much self-aware, but you're not Jesus Christ because you can point out every shitty fact in a person,
Right.
It's based on how well you can grow, as well as stay true to who you are in that term. So if you're a shitty person, by all means be a shitty person, but limit how much of a shitty person you are. You don't want to be a shitty person to the point where nobody wants you around. You just kind of want to be like, I'd rather not, but they aren't completely evil.
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of being a shitty person and being less shitty, that just comes with being aware of it. As long as you're aware, it's sort of like the saying, if you know better, you do better. So if you know you're a shitty person, you may actually put in some effort, but if you don't know you're a shitty person, then you're just blind to it and there's nothing you can really do. You're just going to continue to do the same thing. But as far as the podcast is concerned, how we just plaster that we're bisexual everywhere and talk the illest shit, for the most part, I see it as being pretty necessary, and I don't necessarily see it as talking shit. This may sound OD corny, but somebody needs to have these conversations, Right. Like a lot of people, bisexual, pansexual, gay, and otherwise, tend to deal with a lot of these issues, but never quite vocalize them. Like when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that definitely happens, but there's no real conversation pertaining to it. And that's where we come in, because we're like, okay, that's fucked up, and everybody accepts that is the norm, but why is that? That's the way I always seen it. Like, we're just always out there questioning shit.
Yeah, definitely. I was, one thing that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, wait. On a different note, I want to respond to something else you said. I do want a gay best friend.
Right.
As stereotypical as that may sound, I don't care. Because I found that gay people, or, well, fellow gay people, tend to keep it 100 with you. It's not more of like... It's not like straight people are shitty, but whenever it's somebody who has some type of I'm fucking up today. Some type of attraction to the same sex, they tend to be more honest.
I feel like that's
And
not
again, you come
true.
out.
I just feel like that they relate to you better.
Yeah, that could be it.
That could just be that they relate to you better than someone who's straight. Because I know I relate better to women than I do men, and that's because I'm more vulnerable when I'm with a woman than I am with a man, and I don't know what that says, if that does say anything. I think that it doesn't really, other than, you know what, just feel more comfortable with women in terms of like friendship and stuff like that.
Okay.
But hey, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. Just, don't be shitty and hold yourself accountable. If there's certain things that people do that you don't like, it's okay, but, don't yuck my yum. That's all it really kind of boils down to. Don't yuck my yum. If I say I like something, don't just roll up behind me and be like, that's not my thing because of this. Especially if you identify it as a peer of mine, Like, if I say I'm bi, and, I like men and women, don't run up behind me and be like, I'm bi, but, I like women a lot more than I like men, or I like men a lot more than I like women. Like, I kind of, like, that's a whole dub. That's a dub to your whole shit. Because then who's really going to take you seriously? And you know what? It might be true that you do like women a lot more than men. But unless it comes up in conversation, which, 7 times out of 10, it might, shut the fuck up about it. You don't have to preach about it.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I thought you were about to take a whole different route.
Take it there, please.
Because when you were talking, I know there were a bunch of people. Well, they could still be around. I'm not sure. I haven't seen them like that. There are people who always use the I have a friend line. So they'll say, oh, well, I have nothing against gay people because my best friend is gay. But point out every flaw with a gay person and come at gay people for literally everything they do. But then when you say, are you homophobic? Do you just not like the lifestyle? Like, what is it? Why do you have this huge dislike for us? They're like, oh, I have no dislike for you. Like I told you, my best friend is gay. Then it's like,
So like being shitty, but then like being like, oh no, I'm totally innocent because of, so and so, because I'm friends with so and so, or I tolerate so and so.
Yeah, like trying to validate what you do because of somebody you may or may
Else,
not be
right?
associated with. Yeah. It's like somebody being like, oh, I'm not racist because I have a black friend.
Oh, that shit is the fucking worst. Like,
Think about it like that.
And
I'm not homophobic because I have a gay friend.
That shit fucking annoys me because on so many fucking levels. But I'm gonna try to clarify one point because, all right. So it really upsets me when people fucking do that because of just like what you're saying. If what you're saying offends me, stop fucking saying it. Just shut the fuck up. Like, honestly. Because if I tell you that it offends me, if I tell you, hey, that really fucking hurt, or that kind of like killed my whole vibe. Like, don't say, oh, I didn't mean it in that way. You just apologize. Just apologize at that point. Because if you've offended me, like what fucking difference does it make who you're friends with, who your cousin is, who your sister's best friend is? Like, who fucking cares? You've offended, you have successfully hurt my feelings with your ideologies, and I would appreciate it if you were to apologize and respect my ideologies and not fucking talk about it again.
When you said you You have gone out of your way to hurt my feelings and offended me. I just imagined you handing somebody a card and saying all of that with a smile. Like you're just looking at them and saying, "Fuck you, you offended me.
You
Here's a
go to
get lost
Walmart.
card."
You go to Walmart, you get a card. It's just like, congratulations, you've hurt my feelings.
Imagine.
And then they open it and it's a little pop-up like middle finger.
Yeah. I was totally envisioning that. I'm like, that seems like some shit Autumn would do too.
Right?
But in terms of offending people, I can honestly say, like, if you don't want, it sort of boils down to treat others the way you want to be treated. Like, if you don't want people bullshitting you, don't bullshit other people. And at the same time, if somebody did you dirty or treated you wrong, upset your feelings, apologize to them the way you would want somebody to apologize to you.
Right.
And for so many people, I don't know why this is common. When you apologize, let me make this clear. An apology is, I'm sorry, that's it. End of story. It shouldn't be an, I'm sorry, but. That but indicates that that's not an apology.
That but is the end of the apology. Once you say but, it is no longer a fucking apology.
And it doesn't matter what reason you have, the but kills the whole apology.
Just say what you gotta say, don't say the but. It'd be different if it was just like, I'm sorry, I offended you. I believe that, blah, blah, blah. But it sounds different if you're like, oh, I'm sorry I offended you, but, like that shit just derails your whole fucking apology. If you're going to backtrack on your apology with a but, don't backtrack, just own the fucking idea. So at that point, I can either realize that you're making a valid point or you're just being a piece of shit.
I mean, at that point, they're not even making an apology anymore. It's just them informing you of something else. So the apology aspect of it is completely dead.
Hey, I mean, it depends. It's just like, all right, give me an example. Like if someone was just like fucking like if someone was making fun of someone for being gay, but then they were like, I shouldn't say but, and then you were offended by it, and they're like,
oh, I see what you're alluding to.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, but no, don't say but, just fucking own it, like, okay,
Here's what you can do.
So let's say
you
do you want to go?
I'll go, then you go. Okay. If you offend somebody, don't say but if you're apologizing. If you're going to say but, don't apologize at all. If you want to apologize and further go into depth about how shitty you felt about what you did, the word is because. You can say, I'm sorry for what I did to you because I had time to reflect and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
That's still a valid apology.
That's a valid apology. Or even,
but to be like, I'm sorry, but no.
Right? If you disagree, like let's say person A is getting made fun of because they're gay or whatever. They discover that they're gay. And person B is sitting there and they're making fun of them for it, and you're offended. And they say, I'm sorry. That's valid. If they say, I'm sorry, but, blah, 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 that's not an apology. If you say, I'm sorry, however, person A, I find it, or like, you could be like, I'm sorry, however, I just find it ironic because person A was probably making fun of another person for, coming out like a while ago or recently. It would allude to as to why you made the joke or the comment, without backtracking on your apology. because you still want to apologize, but what you don't want to do is backtrack on the apology, so to say.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sometimes when you apologize, you want to have the opportunity to explain yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly
You just,
what it is. Yeah, like you want to explain yourself, but you just don't want to backtrack.
yeah, and you want to avoid words that have a negative connotation, which sort of takes away from what you were trying to say to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good. I gotta tell my sociology professor about that.
Right, right.
I'm gonna be like, let's discuss. I'm sorry.
Let's discuss that shit. That's actually something I wanted to do. So here's what I was thinking, right? I was thinking I
Mm-hmm.
go to a community college for 2 years and get a education degree. You know, just a small one to kind of validate that I am someone who can, in terms, teach children or teach whom the fuck ever. Not a teaching license. I guess I would go for that if it turned out well, but
D-
you know, I just kind of want that validation of like I can fucking teach, bro. So to say, I don't know.
okay.
I don't know if that's a waste of my time or if it's something. I feel like it could be something, but who knows?
It could be.
Yeah, it could.
The way I see it is, you have traditional teachers, and then you have typical teaching. What I mean by typical teaching is
Like mentoring in a sense.
mentoring, and yeah, that's basically it, just mentoring. You help your friends. I'm pretty sure we all have that one friend who we're like a mentor to. We have some relationships that we do mentor. So within our lifespan, we do mentor a lot of people. We don't look at it like teaching because we're helping them grow, but the job of a teacher is to help the person grow. So it's like just pick the road that you want to take.
Right. Is there another topic you wanted to talk about?
While we're Since we're still on the school subject, girl, let me tell you, I really want to switch my major from psychology to fine art, but I have no type of portfolio, and I know that shit's gonna come back to haunt me. Because for art, no matter what you do, you need that portfolio to be like, okay, here's what I've been doing, and I don't have that, so it puts me in this awkward situation where it's like,
In terms of what? Like fine arts, so illustration?
yeah.
Okay. What I would say is I would just kind of spend all my time drawing, honestly. Like if you were going to switch your major, if you feel like time to build up your portfolio is needed, take it. Or
Mm-hmm.
you could, you know, start from the ground up and go with the fundamentals, and then as you're doing the fundamentals in college, you use what you learn and you use the time that you have to build a portfolio. Because a portfolio
Hmm.
can be anything. It could be photos that you've taken. It could be videos that you made. It could be projects that you've created, sculptures.
Oh,
So
that's interesting.
yeah, pretty much anything counts. Songs.
I didn't know it could be something that you took a picture of.
Yeah, anything can really make a portfolio. You just would want to have your portfolio to reflect a subject, so to say. So you want your portfolio to focus in on something. You know, if your portfolio consists of photos, may they be of you or photos taken by you. You know, those are two totally, completely different subjects.
If it was photography, I'd already have a good portfolio.
And
I guess I could
and it just
draw
gets kind
something
of
like
more
once a week.
nuanced as you get into it, so to say. You know,
Hmm.
because with photography, it's like, what are you photographing? Wildlife, abstract stuff, naturally found abstract stuff, people, places, things, you know, food.
I feel like I'd be places.
Yeah.
There's just something about suburbs and pictures in suburbs.
Right.
It has that
Suburbs is
magic
so
to it.
fucking weird. You know, suburbs are actually death traps, so to say.
I remember I was reading that
Yeah,
not too long ago.
I don't want to be Mr. Know-It-All, but um, I'm not gonna even be Mr. Know-It-All. I was watching Adam Ruins Everything, to
Hmm.
not to any credit of my own. I just watched it, but they did an episode on suburbs, and apparently cul-de-sacs in suburbs are like one of the fucking most tried. Like it makes it more long drawn out to get to anywhere that you want to be
Hmm.
than a grid system. You know, so like instead of houses being on block to block to block, cul-de-sacs go in like weird circles and trying and shit's getting you all caught up and lost, and it can take
I see
much
what you
longer
mean.
to reach a hospital or a fucking grocery store or whatever.
Hmm.
And they also lull you into a false sense of security, which
You
causes
see,
a lot of accidents apparently.
it's that false sense of security that gets me. Because I know when I get my own house, well, first off, I won't be here. I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm moving out of New York City. But in terms of where it is, I'm used to living with people, so I know I would have people living with me, like roommates, close friends, significant other. My biggest thing is I'm just settling on where. Because I'm used to having neighbors, like people living on top of me, but at the same time, I need a little bit of space. But if you go down to Georgia, I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's a really good distance between you and your neighbor. And I feel like that's enough to make me panic and be like, what the fuck? Like, it would be some shit out of a horror movie, you know? It would just make me eerily uncomfortable.
Well, to that
I'd be
I
like, oh
would
my God.
attest to just traveling, because if you travel and go on vacation places and just kind of like do alternative traveling, like stay in an Airbnb as opposed to going to a hotel, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of doing that and kind of and you know, just experiencing all that you can for a short period of time. I think that would boil over better than trying to look up a place and trying to find out the most you can, because honestly, everywhere you live has its own little bubble, and that's something I made a film about that. Just bubbles, and the different kinds of and the bubbles that we live in, because you know, living in New York City, that's one bubble. Living in Buffalo, that's another bubble. Like Seattle, bubble. San Francisco, bubble. Fucking Texas, bubble.
I get it.
Georgia, bubble. You know, different bubbles, they're all different, and you know, you never know which bubble is the best bubble for you, so you just kind of
Experience it.
you got that's the only way you can. It's either you experience it or you kind of just pick a place and hope to fucking God that it's the place that you love. Other than that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's a good point.
yeah. I have always been the kind of person that have like I love apartments because I love being in the city, but I also like the idea of, you know, a house and owning a house and things, and I've also liked alternative kinds of living, such as like living in a firehouse or living in just something that isn't traditionally normally a house, you know.
I get
unconventional
it.
stuff like tiny houses, fucking trailer parks, whatever, things like that.
If you live in a trailer park, you are not going to hear the end of it from our friends.
Our friends don't even fucking live anywhere else out. Have never lived anywhere else outside of the house that they live in now. So
True, at least you would have that over them.
right. I think that it's important to experience all that you can culture wise, because I can tell you, like, not knowing your culture, and especially, not liking your culture is one thing, but not knowing your culture is definitely another thing, and it's kind of like makes you feel less than in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me do something. What's up? What do you need washed? That's gonna take me a minute, and I'm like almost done with this podcast right now. All right. No problem.
She has such a calm way of talking.
That's what you think.
I know it's all part of the illusion.
No, that's how it kind of. That's how it starts. And then give it a half an hour, and it won't be so calm. But she's trying, so I'm gonna try to get that done as soon as we're done. But what was I saying? Traveling. All right. So culture. So yeah, I find it important to learn to know about your culture, because when you're kind of removed from it, it doesn't feel great. Like, I know I am Jamaican, but apart from our food and what our flag looks like, and things like common things, I don't know jack shit about it. Like, I can't say that I know the Jamaican national anthem. I can't say that I know really some actual Jamaican music other than fucking Bob Marley, who everyone swears is the god of reggae. But there's a sense of like learning one's culture, and then also adopting another culture, so that you're not just one-sided on everything. And I like that idea of like traveling and experiencing as much as possible, because you never know when something you learn can be useful and can be beneficial to your everyday life. And they're different from life hacks, I'll tell you that much. Like, fucking learning something that, just one person, some fucking opposite end of the world from you did, that turned into something that was just common household knowledge, which wasn't household knowledge to you, but you've learned it, you've adopted it. It's kind of cool when you can go ahead and then teach somebody else and just be like, oh yeah, I fucking learned that here, or I did this there, to kind of get an introspective idea of how other people in different parts of the world live and operate.
True. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But it just brings you into, this could be a topic, ultimately listening. Because in order to understand, you would have to want to understand and actually hear what the person is saying,
Yeah.
Because I feel like in this generation, it's easy to hear somebody but really not hear them. Like, you're listening to them, but you're not truly hearing their message or trying to understand what they're saying.
Right. And I feel like to a degree, there's a sort of like beneficial factor to it, because how often do you do you meet someone of color who acts, who kind of like is so careful of how they act as to not act stereotypically black. Like, what does that even encompass? Not to like rap, or like to hate a certain sense of style just because majority of a nationality wears it, or listens to it, or performs it. Like, who are you to deny that?
I get what you're saying. When you brought it up, you definitely reminded me of a girl that I went to school with for many years.
Breach.
What ended up happening is I didn't really know her in elementary school. She's one of those people that you sort of acknowledge go to the same school as you, but as the more years go by and the more classes you have with them, you just start socializing after a while. They're like, you know what, fuck it, we've been through this much this far. So around middle school, she started to become aware of black issues. And I don't know what type of issue she was looking into or how many issues were out there when we were in middle school, but she was determined to not be any black stereotype. So she would avoid fried chicken, she would avoid watermelon, she hated rap with a passion.
Yeah.
And she really tried to be like this, I don't want to say anti-black person, but
But
she
that's what
tried
it
as
feels
hard as
like.
she
That's
could
what
to
it.
not conform and be a typical stereotype.
Yeah, that's what it
But
feels
it's
like. Because I'm sorry. I feel like I'm cutting you off. Are you done?
cool. I was just gonna say this is my last sentence anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If it's one thing if who you are naturally is just like that. But it's another thing if you're denying yourself of being who you are just to avoid a stereotype. Because that within itself will make you look like another stereotype. Because if you deny who you are, then you look like the quote unquote whitewashed African American.
Right. And there's a lot to attest to that. I feel like it's dumb to go out of your way to obsessively hate, something that's a part of your culture. Because I'll tell you, me, at a very young age, I very much hated rap because on a certain level, I didn't relate to it. I had no fucking idea what the hell they were talking about. To me, all it sounded like was pussy, money, weed, and bitches. And for the majority of it, it was. It was, but it spawned from a culture of people who were at a disadvantage from the get-go. Like, they had to fucking work. They had to grind, and they had to endure a lot in order to sit there and make a fucking stupid, silly song about money or drugs or women or men. Like, and, to a certain point, I feel that music is just that. It's just music. It's meant to be enjoyed by a certain consumer base. And if, somebody makes a song that is all about drugs and money, that may not be your song. They may not be for you. But if the same person makes another song about their struggles that they had to deal with in their earlier childhood, like, are you then going to say that's on the same level as the song that is all about drugs and money? Like, I don't... Because there will be people that will be like, oh, I hate this rapper, or I hate this singer, or I hate, just rap in general. And they're generalizing rap because they would say all it's about is money and drugs and bitches and weed. And it's like, who the fuck do you listen to? Other than the trap that plays on the radio every day in, day out, like, who else are you listening to?
Right. They become as bad as the stereotype itself.
Exactly. And then majority of the times, like, I have a friend who references good music being artists like 21 Pilots or there I have another friend who only listens to Lil Dicky. Like, is it the fact that he's white that you like, or is it the fact that his music is relatable to you, or you find it enjoyable because it's not serious? Because Lil Dicky has literally made songs about money, about bitches, about practically the same fucking things that other artists do. But why is it that, you know, you hold Little Dicky in a higher regard than you do someone like Joey Badass? You know? Because I've listened to pretty much all of Lil Dicky's music. You know, he has great songs. He has catchy songs. He has songs that are just straight up fucking hilarious. And then you have someone like Joey Badass who makes the songs about the women, the money, and the weed, and also more songs about his childhood and him growing up, and just the absolute shit that he had to deal with then and now. Because even now, you know, things aren't the best ever. They're just different. The challenges are different. The struggle's different. And for someone of color to disregard, you know, one artist just because their music has been presented in a way that doesn't necessarily relate to them, they write off the whole genre, and that's not something that should be. Like, why? I just don't really understand why. That
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
I forgot what I called it, but it was like something along the lines of disassociation identity, or identity or racial disassociation, so to say. I doubt I'm the first one to say something about this or like this, but you know, it's all about if the kind of music you're listening to has a message that uniquely vibes to you, that's great. You know, music is not something that should be seen but should be heard. And if you're looking at music with the lens of like, okay, this is good because this is about, like, let's say white white rock stars or white bands, you know, like the stereotypical ones, such as like fuck, I'm gonna get so much hot water for this, but like fucking Sleeping with Sirens or 3D fucking Pierce the Veil.
Hey, be careful with Pierce the Veil. I love them.
And here's the thing, you know, artists like that, someone could look at that and be like, oh, all they talk about is cutting themselves and how the world is so shit and how everything sucks and how they're all alone and they wear all black and they scream and all this shit and it doesn't make sense.
You say nicer shit than what I actually hear them being described as. If I go on YouTube, somebody will call them emo suicidal faggots.
That's the fucking thing. And somebody will, the same somebody who listens to them but doesn't necessarily listen to like Ray Shremmerd or Drake or Big Sean, you know, Nicki, Cardi, people like that, they may be like, Cardi. Oh, they're all ignorant, like you know, ignorant rappers because all they rap about is money, weed, the hood, being ghetto or coming from, you know, nothing or shit like that. And it's just like, well, if your music speaks to you, then why do you have to speak on something that doesn't speak to you? All you have to really say is, hey, I don't really relate to that, you know? Like, that's it. That's all you gotta really say. You don't have to take the stand or like kind of actively disassociate yourself with that kind of music.
I get it. I guess for me, I'm a little more... Well, first off, I'm not going to be the type to be like, oh my god, this music is ghetto, because no. That's just falling into the perceptions of just looking at the illusion. You're not digging deeper to see what's actually there. But before I get to perceptions and illusions, on a side note, our society for the most part does the same thing. So when I see other people doing it, it comes as no surprise because you have a bunch of groups who think they're better than others. For instance, Puerto Ricans argue with Dominicans. Why that is, I don't know. I tried asking one of my Dominican friends, and he didn't really give me a satisfactory answer because he didn't answer the question. However, it is very interesting that no matter what, there's always a group in society that wants to be above somebody else, whether it's individual, as friends, as a people, no matter what. And as far as illusions are concerned, as much as people say this, that looks don't mean anything, looks matter a hell of a fucking lot. I'm not even gonna hold you.
They do.
To some extent, we're all shallow. Like, the people you associate with, first thing, you're gonna look at how they look. I have not met a person that's gonna be like, oh my god, that girl looks busted. She has a fucking incredible personality, like right off the bat without even knowing her. Off the bat, you may be startled, possibly talk a little bit of shit. However, you go up to her and introduce yourself, that's your specific way of doing things. Even if you claim to be somebody that doesn't judge, there's going to be an instance of your life where you judge somebody based off of personality. But Black people are associated with ghetto and the gutters and just every negative connotation out there. So when we create this thing called rap, it has those associations as well, because it's like, it's sort of the slippery slope, which is a fallacy, a logical fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you associate many negative things that are totally not related with one thing. So you're going to be like, okay, Black people are bad, so the neighborhood they must be living is bad as well. And their music must be bad and their kids must be bad. Like, it's all these irrelevant and unrelated things.
And like, to a degree, everything is not great, but not everything parallels everything in a certain type of music. And I feel like it's just kind of wild, the stereotypes and the conditions that we create for ourselves, because there are all these kind of rules and categories, and sometimes it helps, but other times I feel like it destroys just the things that we genuinely like.
When you were talking,
Right.
you were reminding me of a lot of stuff, and I definitely agree with you. But this was, first off, I'm nosy on Instagram, so I'll peep arguments. There was this issue pertaining to natural hair.
Right.
And versus, I don't want to say unnatural hair because it's like, really, nigga. But at the same time, it's like weave, relaxed hair, permed.
Or an alternative hairstyle.
Yeah. Because even some people look down on dyed hair. I don't know why. But a lot of people
look down on permed hair. I would know.
Yeah, like a lot of people. More recently, a lot of people have been praising all natural hair. Like, oh my god, I'm gonna go out, do the big chop, grow all my hair back, and let it be healthy. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you can afford it, by all means, do it. If it fits your face, why not?
If you want to do it, do it. And that's that's just like it's kind of in the same vein as the oh, I can't be mad at you because you're gay thing. You can't be shitty about one thing just because you're on the opposite end of the scale.
Right.
And I see that and I realize that and I hate that shit, because a lot of people will. I remember something that just kind of shook me, and it shook me so fucking hard that I'm still goddamn mad about it because I should have said something and I didn't. I was walking down
Is
the
it the
street.
autumn lookalike?
No, I was looking that too. Fucking, I was walking down the street, and this woman, just this random woman, this random black woman, out of fucking nowhere, looked at me, saw my hair, and this is back when my hair was kind of like, I would,
Permed and long.
yeah. So like I had that like kind of like that stereotypical emo cut going, and she looked at me and she was just like, "Oh, a black Chinese," and then just started dying of laughter. And I was so confused, and then I got angry because I realized that she was just making fucking fun of me because of my hair and how I decided to style it, and apparently that made me look weird because I looked like a mixture of black and Asian. Like that's so fucking weird. Like that's so it's so wrong that I choose to keep my hair a certain way. Like I'm sporting a full on fucking mohawk now, and a friend of mine made a fucking comment about it that I didn't so much care for. I let it go. But just because I'm black, I can't style my hair how I want to. I've done practically almost every other hairstyle. This time I chose to go with a mohawk. Why does that bother you to the point where you feel it's your business to comment on it?
I get what you're picking and putting down, but I feel
I
like
forgot what
to
I
a
picked
huge
up, but I
extent
put down something.
you were picking up and putting down a lot. Like in terms, like if you had a weapon, imagine we're playing whack-a-mole. You just like killed all the moles. That's how much you put down.
Straight up pull out a Glock.
Imagine, but I see where you're coming from, and a huge element that I always saw is for black men, like you're just not supposed to have your hair permed.
Yeah, what the fucking...
It's
what
like
shit
this
is
thing
that?
that's like ugly, unkept. But if you're a black woman, you're shamed for having all natural hair. Like if it's not straight or braided up, then it's sort of unprofessional, unruly, ghetto.
And I
And it's
thought
like,
about that.
who the fuck comes up with this?
It's crazy. It's like, it's so fucking wild. And it's like, I have niggas telling me every day, like, oh, look at my hair, I did something fucking different. And you know what? If you like it, go for it. But don't half-ass something. I have people sending me pictures of them, like, love, like, them growing their hairs out and then flat ironing it because they want it to be straight. And I'm like, if you just want it to be straight, then just perm it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't, then fucking take the L. Like, why are you half-assing something? I'm not gonna sit here and be like, don't straighten your hair if you can't commit to it, if you can't go the whole 9 yards. But if you have an end goal and you have a certain way that you want your hair to look, go for it, do it, try it. And if you can't get there, find something else. Just try to find something else. But therefore, at least you tried. At least you tried a style. At least you have successfully found something that you liked, aimed for it, and you either hit it or miss it. Like with me,
Yeah.
I didn't always know that my hair wasn't going to be the best. For a long time, it looked really raunchy. Like, it looked really horrible for, like, a really long time. And even when I would go and get it permed, I fucking hated when it was super straight. I liked having a little bit of curl because that gave my hair a little bit of volume. And I hated when it was flat and it stuck to my face, and it was awful. because it wasn't the way I wanted it. I wanted it to be light. I wanted it to be bouncy. I wanted it to be straight. But I
You didn't
value.
want it to be stiff.
I didn't exactly. I didn't want it to be super fucking straight. I liked my hair in the medium that it in the middle ground that it found for itself, because there was a hair journey, and you know what? Fuck it. Hair journey met. And I'm still doing the things that I would like with my own style and my own sense of personality.
Right. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I saw you with straight hair, I was like, wait. I didn't judge you. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's different. I like his style.
A lot of people thought it was weird. A lot of people didn't like it, and a lot of people didn't like it because it wasn't normal. Because every little black boy didn't go and get their hair straightened every 3 months on a Sunday. Girls did it. Girls got their hair straightened, and that was normal because it was seen as normal just through generations of girls getting their hair done because their hair was traditionally longer.
Yeah. And that's what usually happens.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't believe in compromise based on gender, based on who you are. So just kind of be who you are. Just don't be a piece of shit. That's the real message here.
Another message that I want you guys to remember, because me and Autumn have both been through hair journeys. I'm still going through one. I know that I'm gonna want my afro back at some point, so I'm between contemplating seeing how long my flat top can actually get and actually starting from scratch. But
I've thought about dreading my hair, but I know that I like my hair straight. And so for as long as I like it straight, I'm going to keep it straight. And then whenever the fuck I feel like dreading it, you know what? I may dread it, I may not. It just depends on what I like.
I thought about dreading it as well, but then I seen dreads when people don't keep up with them.
Right?
So I was like,
I know I'm the
when my hair's a certain length, I may dread it, and when I dread it, I'm that type of person. I gotta get it done consistently.
I feel like that's everybody. Unless you cut your hair and you're like, I'm gonna grow it out and I'm gonna get dreads, which some people do. I feel that I'm not the kind of person that really likes to keep up with their hair. I don't like my hair when it's short, and I don't like keeping up with my hair, when it's long, but I try to take care of it, and I try to maintain it in a way that it's healthy, and I can still do what I like with it. All right.
I'm gonna.
Have we broke all grounds yet? Have we?
I feel like we have.
This is great. Okay, Michael, where can the people follow us?
Well, you can follow my Twitter. It's petty_Mitchell with 2 L's.
Right.
You can also follow my Instagram. I changed it because too many people would inbox me and say, why is your hair blue, but you have pink in a name?
Right.
So it's Isa Blue Diamond after Isa, period, and then Blue Diamond. I know it could be a Steven Universe reference, but I was legit bored one day and looking up the meanings of different gems, and I love the meaning for Blue Diamond.
All right.
And you can follow me on Snapchat. I snap a lot. My snap is Yo, I'm Mike. So Yo, O is a 0, I'm, and then MIC.
You can follow
That
me.
is all.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Autumn Lee Ryans, both just Twitter and Instagram. Autumn Lee Ryans, whole name, that's it. I'm not as creative. And you can listen to us on Facebook at facebook.com/free BiFi, FREEBIFI, free BiFi. That's where we post all the things that we do, mainly. So, follow us. Tell us some things. You know what? If you want, share with us your story of coming out. We'll read those. You know,
Share with us any story that's relevant,
relevant
even if
stories.
it's pertaining to what we talked about. Share your hair journeys because I love hearing about people's hair journey throughout the year. Post pictures if you want.
Yeah, you can all post pictures to the community page on Free BiFi on Facebook. So, like us, follow us, and we hope you enjoyed today's podcast as well as just the general topics that we hit on. And if we didn't talk about something that you wanted us to talk about, let us know in the comments down below.
And if you want us to revisit something, let us know that too.
Okay. All right. Farewell.
Later.
All right.